Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me. Polina here, talking to you a little bit about this new moon situation, and we do have a total solar eclipse happening as well on the 8th of April 2024. Now it is the 30th of March, and it's not going to be long before things get resolved. So you thought that person really mattered? Nah. You thought that you would take all of your resources and spend them a certain way? No. So you felt like this was important in your life? It's not. You felt like you were going to do a certain amount of things to get things working, get things going in your life, and it looks like it is just not going to be. And also, don't be afraid if things land on deaf ears, if people are not there, if they're not talking to you, if things have gone awry, and if certain things are not going to be stable anymore. So, things that are destabilizing now are absolutely okay. It is a quick way forward. So we want to accelerate things. We don't want to dawdle around. We don't want to pay for that which we don't want in our lives. We also don't necessarily want certain people to come with us on our journeys. Sometimes it's just not certain what life is unless you take some things out. So less is more. It is definitely about taking a lot of thought before you take any action, also occasionally, especially if there is a lot at stake. So, for example, with investments, instead of thinking this investment is going to save my life or is going to prepare me or back me up in the future, try to take care, because big things can come down. Anything, even life and death, important, can be destroyed in just a couple of minutes. Also, where is this good? This is good for ailments and diseases. For example, if you have hepatitis, if you have warts, if you have any kind of long-term infection in the body that seems uncurable, for example, varicose veins, cellulite, certain types of habits also that you don't necessarily want to have in your life, heart disease, things that are just not going anywhere and haven't gone anywhere for a long time can be resolved in just half an hour. So maybe you were wondering, when am I going to get that procedure? Also, with this Chiron close to the sun, make it now. We have fortune also in the sky close to the moon and the north node. It is also very nice, looking very nice with this Venus not far away and Mercury accelerating results. A little trip somewhere, a tiny little change, a little invention, a simple little step in the right direction, and everything is changed. So just one uncareful word or one very uncareful action can also be very demeaning for a long-term progress. For example, it's very easy to crash a vehicle. Okay, it's very, very easy to do a lot of things, and then just this one little brush stroke, this one little detail ruins the whole picture. So the whole thing basically is about knowing that bulk and worth and time spent may mean nothing in this particular minute, which might be very, very intense. So we also have Mars next to the Saturn. So that means things to the Saturn. That means things are accelerating, and definitely there are going to be also things that are going on that are going to take a long time to fix afterwards. So time, density, space, vibration, velocity, energy are kind of shifted and shuffled about, and sometimes they are the wrong way around, but also in a sense within reason, because it's all about changing territories, changing perspectives, going into the right lane and stopping a certain situation that's just going on and on otherwise. So sometimes lengthy, long-term, hearty commitments can be broken down into very simple, tiny things. For example, there could be an invention coming out during this time that would cancel out a long-winded progress. There could be one word spoken that will cancel out like 1,000 other words. And also, in a sense, there could be also an incision or a mistake made during this time in some situations that could be ages to solve. So, for example, being in an accident and then having to go to hospital and spending a long time in hospital or hospitals, multiple hospitals, is not very easy. So, where am I here? What would I probably suggest everything is really juggled up. And there's kind of no such thing as a wrong result here, because if you really think about it, this quickness of time and this change and this karma free energy and this Aries new year, it is all going to give us something else. It is all going to give us something great. We are sick and tired of waiting. We don't want to spend our money in the same way anymore. We don't want to spend our time in the same way anymore. We don't want it. And therefore, quick witted, very cuddly and free results. Scary things can happen as well, like things can disappear in front of your eyes. For example, you had a certain stain on your carpet, and then just in a quick minute, with a certain type of substance, certain type of chemical, it disappears. So that's the thing. Things disappear in front of your eyes. Things can clear up right in front of you. Also, things with people can happen. People can bump into each other on the road. Like, they can just meet each other randomly. In a blink of an eye, things can happen very, very quickly. So, what do I gather from this? You've got to respect yourself and be who you are. It's a bad time to go to territories where you don't want to be. If you know, for example, a certain person, because it's a very amorous time. Sometimes such time is a very amorous time. Aries has a lot of sexuality within itself. Crossing paths with a person that could potentially have a certain type of disease or a certain type of mental issue or distortion, and then trying to make a relationship too fast, too soon, or being too quick to judge is not great. Also, being around people that are potentially, how could I say, harmful. For example, a person that has been in and out of prisons and then inviting them to your home to meet your children is probably going to be a little unsafe in certain situations. Being around, for example, wild animals or like rabid dogs, it's not a very easy thing to say, but yeah, you got to kind of like also match your curfews. Be careful. I think that in a sense, identities have already been laid out for us and paths have already been silently and sometimes secretly set up during this time. So Aries would have set us up for the next year or even next years to come. But there is nothing that we can do if we are going the wrong way willingly or wishfully. It's like, well, what if I go to the wrong side of town? Well, what if I just make love with this person? Well, what if? So the what if feeling, if you're like, oh, what if I'm a happy-go-lucky person, everything lands in my lap, what if? So the what if factor, I think, is the cringe factor, and it could actually potentially leave some people in the dust. So the main thing that I would probably suggest or recommend is don't make any brash decisions. They're going to be made by themselves. So that means nature or the matrix is going to reshuffle things on its own. So it's not about the acceleration pedal. There is probably no acceleration pedal. It's like if you imagine you are in a dream. I'm not sure if you have these dreams and you are pushing a button like on your phone in a dream or something and it doesn't work. And no matter how many times you push it, it won't work. It's kind of one of those things. So it's not necessarily about willpower. It's kind of like you don't need to do it to yourself. It will do itself for you. So for a lot of things it is automatic. It is about luck. It is about the blink of an eye. It is about suddenness. It is about randomness. It's like, I have no idea how that happened. Wow, that was a freak accident. Or wow, that was a really lucky find. And maybe some things are already coming up like that. A little treatment may take years of damage. Like, say you're going to a certain type of doctor and they're treating you for a disease that you had for many, many years, and yeah, it could be gone within an hour. And that's probably like the really kind of also scary and epic part of this time. So we are in Aries. Aries rules the face and the body and the physical external appearances and who you are in the matrix and the physical world, how you appear to others, sometimes how you dress and how you present and what part of society you're in also lands on Aries to some degree, to some cosmetic degree. And then we have this moon also in Aries. And the eclipse basically to me signifies that there is definitely going to be a lucky, because fortune is in the sky, a lucky progression to cut all this stuff down and make it more believable, make it more reputable. Maybe it is going to cover some things that have been uncovered before. Maybe some things are going to go underground, some things are going to go overground. Maybe certain disease may go dormant in your body that was active before, or a previously dormant disease will raise up to be completely resolved. So maybe for the last 2 weeks you had some long-term disease or karma come up. It could be like arthritis, it could be vision problems, it could be shame, pain, heartache, humiliation, anything very complicated, and also maybe potentially very psychological. And then during this particular part um, of the sky, this part of the sky, it may actually not take a long time to figure out how to get it out of you, how to change it. So this is amazing for surgeries, and it's also very incredible for fast fetching results, accidentally getting a bag of goodies in the mail. For example, somebody sent you a whole bunch of supplements, and one of these supplements is the one that you're going to probably really master, or that's going to master you. So there's like a very quick and simple symmetry. There is a quick outcome. There is the binary code, there is the primary colors, there's the black and white. It's a very simple on and off switch that we're facing during this time, during this year. It's not about appeasing people. It's not about surprising anybody. Don't waste your time with social activities. We have a stellium in the sky in the first house. So yeah, for sure, there's going to be a lot of surprises and people wanting to respect each other with gifts and care. And maybe there's lots of, like, say, flowers being given during this time. There's lots of romance in the air, or asking about, what is for me, or how far did you come, how far did I come. There's like a little bit of like social schmoozing in the sky. Pluto and Aquarius, also in an aspect to Venus. She really likes to show up. She really likes to be seen. She likes to wear those incredible garments. She likes to please and to provide. So I would definitely suggest, not for every single person, but if you're a successful person and you know how to do you, and you don't want anybody sometimes involved in your stuff because you're quite fine doing it by yourself, you probably will understand. You don't need anybody else's involvement. You don't need any improvement. You don't need anybody's input. You don't need anybody's approval to do what you want to do anyway. So come what may, rain or shine, you probably already got this. So how to tell a person has got it and has clicked within themselves during Aries? They already know what to do. It's automated. They don't need any pleases and thank yous. They don't need for anybody else to drive them anywhere. They don't need for anybody else to tell them how to do it. They don't need the respect of any other people. They don't need anybody to show up and help them. They don't need anything else but that which they've already got in their suitcase of life. So they already got all the tools. They're not saying, Mom didn't give me this, Dad didn't give me that. They're not saying, I'm not invited to a party. It doesn't matter. It's meaningless because they've already got themselves together. So if you are in that position where everything is very true and you're feeling very lean and mean and in control of your body, if you're feeling very much like faith and you feel enlightenment and you feel a certain level of control over your physical self, and you know that you got this, it's going to be nothing. Anything is going to be nothing. Oh, I lost my keys. It's nothing. Oh, wow, that person said goodbye to me. I thought that would be a true deal. Okay, well, that was nothing. Okay, that was nothing. I cried for half a second. That was that. There's not going to be anything that can destroy you. So this is really wonderful, but in a sense, it is also vulnerable, and it would be polite to take it down a notch and not maybe tell everybody. If you got, like, say, for example, a great idea, if you have clocked life, if you have found the treatment for, like, for example, brain cancer, if you have found a treatment for arthritis, I don't know, if you have somehow found a shortcut and you found that you used to be in the deep end because you did something wrong, and now you see what you had to do this whole time, you don't need to ruffle any feathers. You don't necessarily need to be like a truther or a outcome, or study it and try to make sense of it. Try to make friends with it. It's a very, actually, if you have a very deep discovery, not necessarily about the body, but just how to be you, how to stay young, for example, how to get behind the driver's seat of your life, you don't need to just mess about with anybody. For example, if you are thinking, wow, I got the book of a lifetime, I think this is the book of the century, if I publish this, I'm going to be a millionaire. If you're thinking like this, don't just show the book to your friends. Sorry, get to the right people. Chiron, North Node, I'm sorry if this sounds mean. It's about professionalism, and it's also about telling people that which is true, but also studying it and researching it and being in the right eventually at the end of the day. And yeah, maybe this is about study groups, focus groups, people that are focused on craft, people that are focused on beautiful guilt-free relationships also, things that are happening, things that are not burdened by shame and pain and fear and mother said this and father said that. So we have to grow. And I'm not necessarily putting people down or up. I'm just telling you there's going to be a real upcoming and a showing of where people are fresh, where they got this, they're completely sound, and they're not just thinking that they are. They really are. Everything in their life just works. It's like a jigsaw puzzle that's already been solved. But then there are going to be lots of people like, hey, look at me, I want love, don't you see me? Why does nobody see me? And that's not a bad energy. It's not necessarily a mean thing to say, though. You need to grow. So if you're really like this and you're suffering, you're limping through Aries. Aries is the body. This is how you are here. This is your physical self. This is the only thing that is between your energy and this reality. This is the only conductor. This is the only frequency. Okay, it's your physical body. This is all it is. Aries is a physical body. And if you're broken and lost and you don't know why you're here and you have absolutely no real clue, we need to get you somewhere. So hospitals are really good. Psychics are good. Therapists are good. Teachers are good. Holy people are good. Anybody who can help you, but they're not doing it because they want to be your friend and cuddle up to you later. They're probably just doing it because this is part of their calling. So it's about professionalism and the needed respect. And should I also mention, there needs to be respect and poise with a professional. So for example, you are dealing with some kind of illness, then you go to the hospital and then you treat the staff negatively, it's no go. It's going to still backfire. There's going to be something weird with that. So we have to be very, very kind and sympathetic to each other, no matter in what standing we are. So what I'm seeing is that people want to merge and mix like a dough. And it's like, no, let me, let me. It's like people don't understand how to deal with this. Sometimes, like, for example, you have a child and a child is a child, and a child is a very knowledgeable being, and it's a very holy and enlightened being, no doubt, but it wants to speak over the parents. It wants to do what the adults would do, like say a child wants to drive a car. You don't let a child drive a car. You don't. Like you don't let your 5-year-old drive a car. You don't let them just sit behind the wheel and do this. Because they're not able to, they're not at this level yet. So we have to understand this and not be surprised that certain people are at a level that they are, and certain people won't be right now. And it's not about competition, it's not about complex ideas and things, it's just about not being all sticky and greasy and in one big plump mess. It's just about having an identity, having a crispness, having a soundness to yourself and your heart. So here we are in Aries, the first house, the prime being, the primal being, the physical body. It's about you having doubts sometimes that happens, but also having laws and systems and regulations. I'm not going to be spoken like that. I'm not going to be spoken to like that. My children will not be able to do that, like in my house, or you can say under my roof. So you can kind of like lay the laws, Mars next to Saturn, rule books. You can lay the laws. You can say, look, don't tempt me, or like this person wants to, like they never met me before, they want to come in and hug me and kiss me. It's like, I don't allow that. I don't allow that because in my culture we don't allow that. I'm not going to hug and kiss a stranger. I'm just not. So maybe in your culture you have different cause and effect, and that's great. But there is need to have a real strategy. So also this is a time of the altruist, but be very careful with that because not everybody will be supporting that. There is a seriousness to a dragon year, even if it is the first house, even if we're just going through Aries and it's completely allowed to make a mistake and to be like, oh, like a baby, like let me drive, I want to try this, I want to try that. The altruist is a giant sometimes to other people because they actually have it, they have the concept or they have the story or something to fit, even if they don't quite understand what they're doing yet. The feeling is that there needs to be a degree of poise, centeredness, and maturity because we are looking at North Node, Chiron, Sun. So as this eclipse is happening, this full total solar eclipse, with fortune nearby, which is very fortunate, obviously, North Node and retrograde, yeah, sure, purpose, the point of it all. Chiron, the wounded healer, but also the expert, and the sun, the soul. So the prime urgency of this whole planet, of this whole energy, is just to make sense and be as good and still and stable as you can be, and to be correct and to be with it. So where would I go investing? If you don't feel good in your body, if you don't feel good in your physical form, trust that. If I don't feel good in my physical form, I'm going to go and do something about it. So gyms, detoxes, yes or no, depending on how your chart is formed. For example, you are a Taurus with a Gemini rising, and it's only happening in your 12th house, and that your last house is illuminated. You don't necessarily need to concentrate so much on yourself as Aries represents your psyche. Okay, if you're a Taurus, fine, detox. But most people need to be so prim and bright and pure and adjusted to be able to make it, to be able to make this next change. So the next change is about having purity, robustness, strength of character, expertise, knowledge, and also to a degree, yeah, polarity, because we're only humans, we're not machines. But maybe we need to get very honest and wholesome about things. And the body will save you and give you every single key that you need for the next level. It is not in somebody else. It's not in somebody else's dream. It's not in somebody else's body that you'll find your passion, or that you'll find your cure. It's not somebody else's meanings or a group of friends that will hold you close as if you were family. That's all la la la. We have to get very, very strong and not necessarily intimidating. We have to mean what we bring. We have to mean what we bring. We have to respect ourselves and our souls and our worlds and our missions for what they have become also. So it's not just about being free and being here and being like, hey, I'm the eternal child, I've mastered Aries. It's not just about being the eternal youth, it's actually also about having a certain amount of, yeah, flamboyance and fire and charisma, because we are in this very high voltage frequency. But also we have to find a way to make it practical and not to lose ourselves during this mission making time. Mission making. It's like the world is kind of like an orchestrated organism. It could be seen as a machine or as a mechanical creature, as it is starting to also study us in a way, and it wants us all to do exactly what it wants us to do. So if you can imagine hooking up to the motherboard, it's not just about me, I'm the best, I'm the best. It's also about language, it's about poise, it's about perspective, it's about sovereignty, but it is also about education, and it is about the level of life on which you feel like you belong. But not just this, it's also about universal programs being a part of your base program. So this is about faith and truth and hope, and yeah, Mars with Saturn, religion, and universal ideas. A faceless God is best, but some people cannot imagine God without a face. But let's try. People are trying certain pretenses. There's going to be a lot of pretending. With this Pluto at an aspect to Venus, is going to be a lot of tipsy-turvy behavior, and people going out in their finest. And also, this is about implants and shoulder pads and high heels. It is about making friends not actually based on you. It is actually based on that which you are not. And there is definitely sovereignty in that. And then there's still trust and like fashion. So what? Like, it's like my will, I do what I want. Will is a very small part of the fracture. Will is a very small part of the fractal today. The larger fractal is the universal base, the giant mastermind, the computer mind base that is going to hook up to all people and arrange them accordingly. So yeah, sometime I also think it's kind of wrong and weird behavior to praise the higher consciousness or pray or try to be in alignment with these higher things. But I definitely don't feel that it's bad during this time. Okay, so I'll try to rephrase it. There is a need to pray, and there is a need to ask for the higher vibration to help you align or help you select a more compatible future, because we've all been chosen already for certain paths, and they're not necessarily open to us, or they're not necessarily disclosed to us fully. but we've been chosen for certain things by our souls and also by these other beings or this other being that is the collective. The collective. It's hard for me to talk about it because I still don't quite have my head around God. Never have. Never have. So the thing basically is to let those other dreams, other thoughts, other feelings, other visions, and other blips and blobs also organize you. So does this feel like we should just all come together and do what each other wants? No, that's not what it means. It's not about communism. It's not about communal living or existence. It's not about bans, and it's not about requirements of other people placed upon your soul. It's more just about the nothing that solves and resolves things. So if you can imagine, it's more about this vacuum space, this quantic space. I'm sorry, this is complicated. And it basically sees you or dreams you as it likes to dream you or see you. Okay, so it's not just about your body. It's not just about who your friends are or how you fit into certain social psychology. It's just about shifting your center accordingly. If you know now that you can imagine your life um, being but a trend, if you can imagine already that you're living in a certain neighborhood or you are participating in certain cultural groups that would probably eventually lie to you, or you can already see the forest for the trees. Like, say, I live in a bad neighborhood, or, I know I got this kind of guy around me. There is no real reason not to pray. So let's just say it in a better way. It's a good idea to pray it off, and it is good to also come to certain conclusions and stop hiding it. So, for example, you're trying to get a man. That's just an example. And what you're doing is you're putting a lot of like theatrics out there, and you think that through this glamour and through this sexuality and theatrics, you're going to call in the right person. That's not necessarily going to help you. If you, for example, have been brought to tears or brought down to size by life, or some things have not worked out, cry and be compassionate also to yourself. But it is good to admit your own wrongs and your own philosophies that didn't work in the past, and to come to a certain significance that eventually crying may give, even if you just cry for half an hour, is going to change your world. Prayer, intention setting, rapturous moments. Oh my gosh, like huge pain, huge guilt, huge grief is definitely going to be one of those forces that is going to bump you on the right track. So realizations are really hard, but they are really successful during this time. So, for example, this has actually been building up for some people, like for me, it's been building up for a few weeks. When you realize, I don't want to live like this anymore. Like, say, I don't want to have like a coffee habit. I don't want to have intimacy with certain people, or like I don't want to be experiencing certain neurological issues, or I don't want this, I don't want that, or I don't like this that I'm carrying in my body, or I'm just so tired of my own thoughts and feelings. I'm just so tired of me. If you are coming to this, there is no point of just putting on the makeup and the brave face and saying, well, actually, I'm okay. It's okay for some people, and I can see how altruism and freshness and freedom of just being nice, even if life is not nice, can definitely help. And there was a part of this Aries time where we had to like zip up the corset and be strong and still make it and still feel good and still feel fine. And affirmations, they do definitely work. Um, if you want to get the most out of this time, let the shadow come, as we are in the eclipse. Let the shadow come. The shadow, the eclipse, as the shadow is going over the sun. So the soul is obstructed by emotions, by the moon, by the memories, by the collective database and the bank of souls and lives that it took to generate certain understandings and realize or clear certain karmas as well. The passing of time, the question of change, and how long now? How long do I wait? Or how am I even here? Who am I? Like all of these very brutal and even slightly dangerous realizations, slightly psychotic and nerve-wracking feelings can be the end of a lot of things, and they can also be the start of many other, many other things. And yeah, psychotic behavior, I already talked about behavioralism in my previous audios and videos for Pisces. Behavioral issues, so like always wanting to be in control, talking over other people, behaving strangely, also having certain disdain for certain people, judgments, or like messy personality traits, having big ups and downs, and skyrocketing and then falling very deep. All of that has got to be claimed. You can't just like put the makeup on the face and be like, I'm absolutely fine, because you might not be. And you might not actually have to do a lot of damage to yourself or other people, especially if you're damaging, for example, your children, or your partner or other family members in the process. It's very, very good to come to a realization, I am damaged, or there's something damaged. Then there's going to have to be some kind of answer or comeback to you. And it's going to be lickety split during this time. It's not going to be a long wake up call. It's not going to be like, I'm waking up without tears suddenly. I'm understanding. It might be a very rough and slightly damaging path that some people also might have to be on to get brave and get free, and to face certain fears or to face certain realities, as that is how some people are going to be in the deep end learning to swim. Some people are going to have a completely different idea of who they are and what for they live their life in like a split minute. Some people are going to have to come to an ending, and certain people have to be over in order to reignite again. So it's as if a person is over, they finish something, they are out of reach, they have no means of contacting anybody, or they don't want to. And then after a while, they show up and they're squeaky clean. So there is a rebirth factor. And also, yeah, let's get a little bit deep here. Clinical deaths are likely. Things that happen very, very quickly, and you didn't see it coming. Total solar rebirths, total change of character and self-esteem, absolute shift in vibration and in reality, and a complete change of path. So you went through one path, through one dream, and suddenly it's not that that story is destroyed, as just said, it is replaced by a completely different set of skills, completely different rule book, completely different relationships, and a totally different new version of who you are comes after. And then that's it. And basically, what you have to look forward to is a lot of the best, because this is like the prime time. This is dragon time. Most of this is going to also end and change and challenge you. More and more energies are going to be shortcut. For example, you thought this was going to be a few dates, or you thought this was going to be a big program, as a kind of like a glitch in a system. So, for example, don't expect to date somebody for a long time during this time. It's also good not to expect to get too much out of a situation. Sometimes just a small little dash of something is enough. You don't have to have so much of it. So also very, very careful with alcoholism and addictions, especially if you've ever been very close to something horrible, if you've ever had also a close to an overdose on any substance, or if you went too far too soon into any kind of thing. That's going to be happening, especially with people that are reckless and wild, and they don't care which way they go from here on. If you have a very, very short temper, or a very strong ego and a need to perfect your life as well and take it to the limit, that can also have a oopsie moment. It can also generate a very hard moment. But yeah, remember to not go into zombie behavior. So that means automated behavior. Like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm going to do this. Make sure that you know what you're doing, that you know how you're doing it. And if you had to write a theory about it, you could do that. You could explain to somebody else. You could even teach, or make sure that other people understand where you are, who you are, what you're doing, and why. Also, if you decide to just like take off for a while, if you're one of those people that likes to just go and as if disappear for a while, in a sense, not caring if anybody's worrying about you, or you do care about people worrying about you, but you don't want to admit it, that's very, very hardcore. Being dismissive, being unavailable. If a person is completely not available and doesn't want to answer your telephone call, or they don't want to make friends with you, they don't want to make themselves appear in a certain situation. That's really hardcore. So, for example, if the courts are calling you, if the police are calling you, if somebody's calling your phone, answer the damn phone. And it is important to be loyal. Loyal, because a lot of this energy is very aggravating. Some of it is very wild and free, and some of it is slightly psychotic or borderline. And we want to make sure that everything gets to know itself, that everything gets to the right result, and that all the things that you have going on in your story are seen as correct. They all have an outcome that you would be blessed to receive. So we are looking for blessings. We are looking for the best, and we are definitely looking for real strong root systems, and also a technical side of life that cannot be destroyed later. So this is like the Chiron next to the North Node Sun. It's like it has to be done so professionally, it has to be done so beautifully that it cannot be disturbed later on, and the results last and last. Thank you very much. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time.